Hello and welcome to the latest installment of the Systems Video Interview Series. Today I'm joined by Brett Lindstrom, the Director of Marketing and Connected Experience here at Systems. And today we're going to go over connectivity. And connectivity has been something that Systems has been a pioneer for in the industry really for the last few years. Brett, can you go into detail a little bit about what we've done over these past, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, so Systems has been a leading manufacturer of loading dock equipment really for 50, 60 plus years. And over these past few years, Systems has really paved the way for technology with loading docks. And so our software that we have is MyQDoc Management. And so really, any facility that has loading dock equipment from one of our brands, so PowerAmp, McGuire, or DLM, can connect their loading dock equipment to the cloud with MyQDoc Management. So that uses our iDock controllers with our equipment that's installed on. So really that's been one of the newest ways to have an insight into what's going on with loading at your facilities, to understand really how long your trucks have been at the docks, what your turn time is compared to your loading time, where you can improve any of your efficiencies there. Or even safety metrics. If you have a restraint installed, you want to make sure it's actually being utilized or not. So MyQ really gives you a lot of great insights into proving your loading dock technology. And really up until now, to obtain MyQDoc Management, you either have to have our iDock controllers with our equipment, or you can also have a DDO, a dock door operator from LiftMaster.
So what happens when a customer wants MyQDoc Management and sees the benefits of it, but doesn't have an iDock controller?
Well, so that's exactly where iDock Link comes into play that we're talking about today. And so with iDock Link, this gives that ability to those facilities that don't necessarily have our loading dock equipment or don't have a dock door operator, but they really want to utilize MyQDoc Management. And so with this device, you can actually install it at each loading dock and then connect it to a series of sensors that we have available, depending upon whatever your needs are for the metrics you want to track. And then again, that can connect to the cloud and allow you to have MyQDoc Management. So it's completely irrelevant of what equipment you already have installed at your facility.
And if someone were to want this installed, how would you describe the installation process? Is it fairly straightforward?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can see from the device here, it's roughly about 7 inches by 4 or 5 inches. Same thing, about maybe 4 inches deep. So it's a relatively small unit. And then inside, you can see that there's a board that's in there where we can wire our sensors up to. So really at each dock position, we'd find a location typically near where their existing controller is. We'd mount that onto the wall, and then you're going to tie in both your sensors and a power supply. So, a 120 volts power supply that goes into there, tie in your sensors. And then it's nice too that on that main board we actually have a series of LED lights so you can see, troubleshoot any issues or ensure that everything's working properly. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward installation.
And you mentioned sensors. What are some of the options that you have available?
Yeah, so there's a variety of sensors that come with an iDock Link that are really the same set of sensors that you can get with an iDock controller or DDO, the dock door operator. A lot of them really serve the same purpose, and it depends on what value you want to get out of MyQ will determine which sensors you should install. So starting with the exterior of the dock, we have a truck presence sensor, and that's really, as the name suggests, it's there to determine if a truck is present or not. Inside the facility, we have a sensor for each piece of equipment. So one for the leveler, one for the restraint, one for the door. So you can know the position of all of your equipment during that loading process. And then with the opening of the door, we have a sensor for forklift activity. So you can know that while your leveler is deployed, is there actually a forklift going in and out of the back of the trailer, so you can actually see that activity going on. And then if you have a hydraulic leveler, we can actually put a sensor into the reservoir to detect if your hydraulic fluid is low or not on there. So there's a series of sensors that we have. You don't necessarily have to have all of them installed. Really what you do is see the value in MyQ, what each sensor offers, and determine what's most important to you, and then try utilizing those. So if, let's say, you want to do a comparison between your truck turn time and your load time, well then get a truck presence sensor and a leveler sensor, and then you can see that difference of the total time the truck was there versus how long that leveler was deployed. So you can really look to find those efficiencies there. If you're a cold storage facility, you want to know if your doors ever left open or open for too long, then certainly knowing with that door sensor if that door is left open. So all these can serve that purpose in your reporting in MyQ. If you want to receive email or text notifications about any of that activity that's going on, a lot of them have that value there. Now, one thing I'll touch on too with that is that we talked earlier about it doesn't make a difference what equipment you already have installed at the dock. One thing that we do have the ability to do in certain circumstances is if you already have, let's say, a leveler lip stored sensor, we could possibly utilize that existing sensor. Now, that's not always the case. We certainly need to reference every single job application to determine that, but that's a possibility that it could cut down some of the cost for the install if we already have a sensor there. So always something that we can take a look at.
So now that they have their link box properly mounted and the sensors installed, how do they go about getting this thing online?
So there are some differences for how you get an iDock link online versus how you get one of our iDock controllers online. One similarity is that they both use an iDock gateway. So we've had this for a number of years now, and so we've used this to get our iDock controllers in the cloud. So we'll use the same gateway to get an iDock link connected online to MyQ. The process of getting there is a little different now. With an iDock controller, the way it's done in the past is that once you have a gateway installed and the gateway is online, you can then go on to MyQ and send a signal to pair it through the cloud back down to the gateway to pair it. With an iDock link, so inside of here on the main board, there is a pair button that's on the main board. And so really as long as the iDock link has power to it and the gateway has power to it, you can hit that pair button and it will pair locally with the gateway that you have installed. So you don't necessarily have to have the gateway online at the time of installation. So you think about any facility that might be new construction or the Wi-Fi isn't ready yet or whatever the case may be, that's fine. As long as you have power, you can pair these locally, and then when you do get that gateway online, now you can go on to your account with MyQ, you can add this gateway, and then you go through each dock position and you indicate, all right, add this iDock link device to this dock position and what sensors are associated with it. So it's a fairly straightforward process. It's just a matter of hitting some buttons and then entering it online.
And as far as the differences between the iDock link and the iDock controllers go, do you miss out on any functionalities on MyQ having the link as opposed to the controller?
I mean, there are the differences, as I just explained, between the pairing process itself. The iDock the iDock controller is going to give you a few more diagnostics with the equipment because it is still an actual controller for that equipment, and so it's collecting data like cycle counts, any fault codes that occur, or what your maintenance dates are, stuff like that. So there are some equipment information that will be housed in an iDock controller that will then be reported to MyQ that an iDock link wouldn't have, because it's really not functioning with the equipment itself, so therefore it's not gathering data of any faults or anything like that. So you certainly still have an advantage that if you're trying to make a decision for a new construction, I would definitely recommend going with our loading dock equipment with an iDock controller, because you'll get some of those advantages and keeping the equipment running smoothly over time. But on any case, in any retrofit application, if you already have equipment that's installed, then certainly, yes, still use an iDock link. You just might lose some of that equipment information.
So lastly, say someone wants MyQDoc Management, how exactly would they go about getting it?
Well, so we've talked about the different ways. So you have your hardware installed, either an iDock controller, an iDock link, or a DDO from LiftMaster. So any one of those 3 devices can connect your docks to MyQDoc Management. And so again, with MyQDoc Management, you'll then be able to see the real-time activity, current status of your loading docks. You'll be able to receive notifications, whether it be through email or text, about any events that are occurring at your docks, and you'll be able to analyze historical reports and really see where are the areas that you can improve your efficiency or your operations over time. So any one of those 3 devices will get you there, and then of course you just pick out which sensors you want to have installed with those based upon what your needs are. So to get those, reach out to Systems and we can get you in touch with a local representative. Otherwise, if you already know who your dealer is in your area, who's either a Power Amp McGuire or a DLM distributor, talk to them. They should all be trained and qualified to install this and get you set up.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And for more information, be sure to visit www.loadingdocksystems.com. Have a good day.